Hi everyone. Hello, my name is Teresita Blanco Diaz's sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra Nalini. This is Chapter 9, Part 2. The twins took in this information and they wondered. I'm not gonna make heads or tail of anything I said. And Kashmir was still trying to understand the whole eternal reoccurrence part. The entire speech went contrary to their religion and worldview, and for them the gods were pre-existing beings that created the world and every living thing. The main goddess Lava first created the elves in her own image and likeness, and then she created the other species to serve the elves. And one day the jealousy of her twin Arasa made him betray her sister, and he spilled lies to the other creatures, and then in order to overthrow their elven overlords. And then the species left the elf forest in order to toil in the world outside, and even Arasa and his image were supposedly confounding the other species made to force them to sin, and for their crimes Lara took their longevity from the other species, and since the elves will remain pure in their worship of Lava, they got a ridiculously long lifespan. And if the elves do die, Lara was supposed to raise them to the heavens to live with her as her adopted children. The elves who were evil were cursed with darkness, and thus becoming dark elves, and they will run forever in the dark shadows of the world below. The twins said nothing after hearing that explanation, and based on the sly smiles of the elders, I realized that they were one of the few elves who remembered. Therefore, there was no need for me to explain to them who I was and what I was. And they also did not wonder at the fact about my strange appearance. And close to the end of our meal, Atomos joined the feast, and sitting a bit too close to me, he said in a cheery voice, Why don't you eat a little more? And he pushed an apple into my mouth, and somewhat annoyed, I spilled out the pieces I had beaten. Atomos shifted from his seat, and then he went to bother Kashmir. And he held him in a brotherly fashion before saying, The past is irrelevant in the face of the future, and there comes a time when we must stop thinking about history and focus on the here and now. And Atomos laughed when he felt that Kashmir was growing tense, and he had one of those loud bad guy laughs, and he laughed heartily for a few minutes, making us, the guests, feel uncomfortable. And gingerly he rose after he finished annoying us, and then before departing. Amir whispered to his sister, "What a weirdo." Atomos quickly returned in order to regale us with stupid tales of his stories, but he claimed to have slain a Hydra, Tiamat, and Zuns, the twin serpents of life and death, and whenever we tried to leave, he would detain us with another story. When he was not killing monsters or reading, he claimed to have met many historical and sometimes fictional characters, and he kept twisting facts and fictions until they were both unrecognizable. Needless to say, he was trying to impress someone, but we were truly not impressed. By nightfall, he finally quieted down, and instead of pestering us, he went to sleep before the lake, looking at the reflection of the stars in the water. The elders apologized for his ill behavior, and unlike us, they were used to his sadness and his random bursts or lunacy. He's a good lad. He just simply had a hard childhood, said one of the elders, apologetic. I said nothing to her statement, and we went all our separate ways to call it a night. And I found a place inside the hollow of a tree, and I wrapped myself completely inside my robes, and I took care to myself that I was completely covered, and I slept in a fitted position for I know how long, and my companions used to visit me from time to time, and comment on the cocoon that my robes had become. And whenever they had contact with the cocoon, part of them went inside of me. And in no time I developed a new body, and even my true form suffered a similar metamorphosis. And not quite a fairy, not quite an elf, but it had plenty of the primordial elves who kept jabbing at me every so often. And on the inside I had plenty of Vigo's silent nature, and how he changed me was still a matter of debate even today. And in one warm summer day, I emerged from the cocoon, and by now my new body had fully acclimated to the changes and limitations of this world. And now that I was on my trousseau would not harm my friends, and I pushed myself out of the cocoon, digging up to the surface with my nails. And sensing that my rebirth was happening, Magus emerged from his cave, and he too dug at the surface of the cocoon. And my long, delicate hands were the first to emerge, followed by my head, and pulling me by the armpits, Magus helped me to rise. As he pulled, the edge of the cocoon stuck to my back, and the cocoon was started eroding to reveal flaming red wings, and the top edge was a dark glittering purple, and the bottom edge light golden, and the pattern close to my back looked like the four snake heads. And in all respects, the wings were identical to those of an Attacus atlas, or a Malaysian Saturnid moth. Time, bro?
9 minutes.
I felt my legs were weak in my new body, and I made a motion to Magus, who half dragged me to the lake. And I said before, in order to observe the changes, aside from the wings, I noticed that my eyes had become somewhat larger, and the white had turned to a deep brownish red, and the eyes had turned bright red as well. And on my forehead I had 2 orange antennae, and my ears had become pointy like those of the elves. Entangled among it, I saw my new, long, curly brown hair, and my mouth seemed a little small. However, my feet had gotten even smaller, like those of the fairy. As for Magus, he assumed the full form of a man, in order to match my new growth spurt. He became a darkly beauty with the same silent black eyes that stared dispassionately at the world. And he sported a black iron plate armor, and the armor was not. It simply served as a fashion statement more than providing any protection, because the armor was part of his own flesh. And he wore no helmet, and he simply allowed his black hair to flow in the wind. By now, word had gotten around that I had finally emerged from my cocoon, and in no time the citizens of Nemorensis had gathered around the lake, and I noticed some new faces, and it seemed that whatever had slept, all the elves had made the journey to the forest, and most of the new arrivals were dark elves, women, and children. And I saw that the one leading them was the leader of the five dark elf mages, and they were the second group that traveled to Nemorensis. And unlike most mages of the Alpha Sphere, these ones had managed to develop their own magic independent of Lara. And I did notice non-elves among them, and a small child made his way through the crowd, and he walked on top of the water to cross the lake to see me. He was a pale child with black eyes and short black hair, and he sported a black armor designed after a bat and a puma. When he stood before me, he saluted me with a bow and said, "My name is Canon. I am an ex-general of Persame, and I took it upon myself to guide these vagrants to the Nemorensis." I gave a faint smile and I said, "Arise, noble creature. To me you are my equal, and how kind of you to guide these children to safety. And I would have done so myself, but I have been quite indisposed as of late." Canon gave another response, and the leader of the elf mages too made his way across the lake, taking the long way, mind you. And like Canon, he showed his reverence, and he said, "We can't seek in your guidance, fairy godmother." I gave a sigh and said, "Please, just call me Nalini. Just call me Nalini. Speak normally. Formalities do make for boring conversations that lead nowhere. I am neither a god, nor your mother, nor a fairy for that matter." Shocked and a little, he said, "I am Odilon. Bring news of the situation in the Elf City." "There is no need," I said, shaking my head. "While I slept, I dreamed, and I dreamed of the world beyond Nemorensis, of the bloody soil of Verageddon, of the cold frigid lands of the north, and yes, I dreamt of the elven forest, and it pains me to see how it has degraded, of how little attention Grimil gives his followers now that he has Nalini. The newlyweds do not see the sword of Damocles that is about to fall on their head, and even now he stirs, and even now she waits." "Yes," said O'Neill, not getting half of what I said, and he had a bewildered expression on his face, and he continued, "And we too felt something was amiss, and decided to leave before anything bad occurred to us." "Worry not about the outside world," I said to him, and all who gathered. "While you stay in Nemorensis, you will know only peace and happiness. I only ask that you abide by the rules of the sacred groves and do not create strife. Content yourself with the peace that these groves provide, and never forget that even in Nemorensis, death exists. In the ominous tone, I ended my little speech, and after that the minutes rolled lazily by, and the magic users the better than solving their experiments, the artisans to the pottery, the writers to their art, and the children to their game. Harmony reigned in every corner, and the pieces place provided healed their broken hearts. The new arrivals instinctively knew that should hatred brew inside their hearts, they would be kicked out of Nemorensis. And some even took the do not create strife commandment a little too far, and they avoided all negative emotions altogether, and they did not even feel the urge to rebuke their misbehaving children. And despite the peace they experienced, a strange longing was brewing inside their hearts of many of the adult elves. As for me, I would spend my time playing with my friends, and later night I would perch upon the branch and spread my spores, and with them a piece of me would be carried by the wind, and via the spore I was able to better perceive the happenings in the lands outside of Nemorensis. Time, bro?
4 minutes.
Sometimes in my darkest hour I would think of the other Nalini, of the sweet, innocent elf she was once before, and like me, she had undergone a metamorphosis, and while I had changed physically, her true nature had completely altered. She rarely sang, and she was consuming the adoration of her husband like a proper elf wife should, and when he was not around, she spent her time indulging in her newfound narcissism, and for their honeymoon, Grimir had taken her outside the elven forest in the direction of the sea, and from time to time they would partake of each other. And little did Nalini know that all of their loving embraces were futile. Grimir would not give her the child she wanted. And I would enlighten her. However, the last time we said goodbye, she made it perfectly clear that she did not need me. So my bitter side secretly contented itself when Nalini's frustrated attempts to have a child. And the ill-fated couple was forced to return home early. Originally, Grumir wanted to take Nalini to a human to the Tower of Suberos, and he could not imagine that picturesque town and the tower had become nothing but a memory. And when they arrived, they saw Eos corpses scattered over the land, and the sandy winds had covered a few of them. However, most remained infested in plain view, and the air reeked with the stench of death, and they could feel its presence among the corpses, lazily taking its time to harvest their souls one at a time. And the script over this dominion was so strong that not even the rats or bugs dared to enter the town to feast on the decaying body. And the town itself looked like it had been abandoned many centuries ago. As for the tower, though in good condition, it seemed like the last floors had caved in. Grumir, gazing at the tower, said, "This is not how I remember it." Nalini shocked asked, "What happened here?" "I don't know." He dusted off one of the armors and said, "Berserkers by the look of them. One second Berserkman has led his army to its death." Frowning, Nalini said, "I have seen enough of the outside world. Let's go home." "Yes, let us return." That was the last time I intruded on that Nalini's privacy, or anyone else's for that matter, and I started to become more local-oriented, and from time to time I flew with my fairies outside of Nemorensis, and the world looked vast and expansive, and regardless of how high I flew, I could never see the roundness of the world. Indeed, this world was huge, perhaps a little too big, and I took to singing like a music box, and I sang in reminiscence of all of the many things that I longed for. And one day I said to my friends, "I will be returning home in a few years." "Where is your home?" asked Hesperi. "It is not a place that you can get to by boat or by horse. It is far, far away." At the end of my song, somewhat amused, Crimson Rose said, "Really, with all the seriousness, where do you live?" "I was born here and there and everywhere at once. In a few years I will return to where I belong," I said in my usual dreamy tone. Canon snorted and he said, "You sound just like my Duke." "Well, he is my big brother after all," I said coquettishly. "I figured as much," he said, frowning. "Time, bro?"
Less than a minute.
"You think he keeps you in the blind, and my brother's one of those need-to-know basis kind of weirdos, and he never tells you the whole story unless if he finds it absolutely necessary, if at all. In this respect, he is his father's son," I explained. "Alright, we're done with that. Bye-bye and God bless."